Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Gears of War 4 Inconceivable difficulty video walkthrough. This is Act 1, 0, and it's called Prologue. This is me picking the initial difficulty, and you begin storming into this beginning chapter, which is one of the roughest chapters in the game. It's one of the roughest chapters in the game because the enemies can shoot you in cover for no really good reason. So you're going to see quite a passive, defensive playstyle on this initial video, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to explain to you just how this new difficulty works. So you might be thinking, well Chris, how come you're coming back to Gears of War 4? When this difficulty was originally released last year, you didn't say you had any interest in it, and it was true. For some reason I've ended up getting back into Gears 4. Gears 5's just been announced. Gears is got a lot of information coming out at the moment, so it's not the worst time in the world to come back to the game, but also it's a harder difficulty, you know. It says you thought Insane was difficult, and then there's this one. So if you do not know, Inconceivable increases the damage that you take, it decreases the ammunition that you get, and it decreases the HP of the enemies to make it a little bit more survival based, and to kind of balance it out. Throughout the full campaign, I didn't really notice the enemies having that much of a HP reduction, but you definitely do feel it occasionally. Personally, I was really hoping that their life would be really low, but they would kill you insanely quickly, and it'd be a wonderful risk versus reward kind of back and forth war of attrition. But that's not what I found in this campaign at all. It's just simply not true. It's standard Gears fare, only you die a little bit quicker now. And to give you an idea of the damage threshold that you're going to be facing, there is going to be, if you get shot by two enemies at once, you will die, because the enemies generally put you immediately to death cog, and then one hit away from death. So if two of them tag you at the same time, it will put you down. A lot of instances don't result in two enemies shooting you, and it stems from the fact that you will always have Kate and Del with you for the full game, and because of those two AI partners, they pull a lot of aggro. If there's any moment where you're pulling the aggro, you're going to feel the full brunt of this new difficulty, but fundamentally, it's really not that bad. I personally found Insane to be harder, but I don't know if that's because I'm better at Gears now, or because my strategies weren't as good before. I guess we'll find out together, right? One thing in this walkthrough you'll notice is I'm completely trimming out all the downtime. I'm going to be doing a linear sequence of encounters and nothing in between. And the only thing that I will say to you guys is always explore, always take your time, always try to find ammunition, always, you know, completely scour the battlefield to make sure every weapon that you have is going to be as viable as it can be. Because on Inconceivable, you're going to be looking at, give or take, around 50% less ammunition depending on the pickups that you get, and your weapons aren't going to be able to carry the same amount of ammo that they normally would. One of the exceptions to this, I think, is the Lancer. The Lancer can carry a lot of ammunition, but everything else seems to be a little bit limited. Additionally, guys, there are some pretty interesting Easter eggs in this game. One of them I just passed up then, which is a freeze gun. You can get a freeze gun on this level, you can get a bolt-ock that kills anything in one hit in the graveyard level on Act 3, and then later on Do Not Go Gentle, you can also get a shotgun that slows time called the Raging Buccaneer. And if you've never heard of these, I wouldn't blame you, because there's not that much information on them, but they're really awkward Call of Duty zombie-esque Easter eggs that you can get, and I will not be using any of them. They are really good. If you have no qualms about getting a gun that kills anything in the game in one hit and has 18 bullets, feel free to pick it up. It's going to make everything easier. And as a walkthrough maker, it's kind of my job to tell you how to make things easier, but at the same time, if I were to use that, I'm not making a walkthrough, because there's going to be plenty of people who will get to people like the Swarmac, and they can't just shoot it with a bolt-ock and kill it instantly on Inconceivable difficulty. So that's where my videos come in hand, hopefully. But the hardest part of this level by far is the firefight that's about to transpire. The enemies we're taking on here are the UIR troops, and they come with Marxers. Marxers kill you in about 2 to 3 bullets, and the AI can fire it with very little recoil and incredible accuracy, and very quickly too. So if you stay out of cover too long, you're just dead. There's no two words about it. If you get focus fired by 2 enemies at the same time, you will die. And I begin the firefight the same way I believe I did on my insane run, whereas I take out as many people as I can with this mounted gun, and the moment that the AI warn you that they're coming on both sides, I'm going to move back into cover on the right hand side, and from that point onwards, popping out of cover and shooting people is a risk, because at any moment you can get killed. And additionally, if they decide to throw a grenade at you here, you will never get away from it. I have no idea why the grenades detonate so quickly now, but in the old Gears game, it didn't feel like that. And I don't know if it's because I've got the multiplayer balance on my brain, because I played way more multiplayer than I did anything else back in the day, but I feel like you used to see the grenades and hear the beeps and know you were screwed, but you didn't have, like, you couldn't react quick enough because you were too busy thinking about you were going to die. Whereas in this game, you don't even hear the beeps, you don't even see the bounce, they don't bounce, they just fucking land and explode. It feels very unfair, and just then was an instance of the unfairness of this level. I got shot while blind firing. That will almost never, ever happen. Unless the enemy is on high ground, or unless they can see you from an angle where you are not in cover, or governed by the rules of cover, you will never normally traditionally get shot when you blind fire. But this level is broken. This level works in a weird way, and it makes it hard. So if you're having trouble with this shootout, and I'm making it look easy even though my aim's terrible and my controller fails me all the time, it isn't, you know. This is one of the more testing parts of the game. Do you see that just then? Do you see how many times he's shooting? Have you ever tried to fire a Marxer like that? Watch how your reticle bounces. Your reticle bounces like the Yardy Lobos in GTA 3, as if Snoop Dogg was in the bloody thing. Like, you cannot do what the AI does with this gun. They laser fire it, it's crazy. And if you had a mouse and keyboard, maybe you would be able to compensate for the recoil and be just as deadly. Which brings me on to the biggest malady of this video. Originally I was going to cover this game on PC, guys, because I wanted to play it at 144 Hz. I wanted to play it at a frame rate of above 100. I wanted to play it at an FOV that doesn't make me feel like I'm a suppository for the camera. Like, I wanted all these things that would have been amazing and would have made the guide look better. But you have to have Windows 10 to play this game on PC, and I would rather not do that, so unfortunately we'll be settling for shitty 30 frames per second, horrendous FOV, 60 refresh rate, and whatever else I have to put up with to beat this game, which is like constant performance problems, constant dynamic texture issues, because this is on an OG Xbox, and the OG Xbox isn't very strong apparently, and this is quite an ambitious game. But at the very beginning of that spawn just then, guys, you want to grenade that first emergence hole, and then from here you want to sprint all the way up to this top row of pottery plants. From here we're going to be moving across the right, taking out a couple of the classic drones, and then we're going to be picking up the hammer. I don't have to tell you that on this difficulty you die quickly, you're going to learn that firsthand. My strategies for the majority of the game are going to revolve around carrying the custom Lancer and a retro Lancer. And I did this because both Lancers are kind of the workhorses of these games, and I wanted to make sure that I always had something that you will always have. So for the most, I'm going to pass off using power weapons, which is not something I normally do. I'm a big fan of using them. One of the best things about the multiplayer in Gears of War is it teaches you how to use the weapons in a way that the campaign never will. And for instance, right now, the Hammer of Dawn, a weapon that I was an absolute phenom with in maps such as Rooftops, you know. This weapon was majestic and wonderful, and it's not in this game, and I don't know why. Outside of the prologue where you use it to shoot this corpser, you'll never use a Hammer of Dawn. The most interesting weapon in Gears of War is completely ignored, and I have no idea why, because the Hammer of Dawn is temperamental, it's inconsistent, but it takes skill to use. And understanding that it's kind of shit and also kind of amazing was one of the wonderful aspects of using the weapon. Understanding how to aim it without a reticle from the hip, understanding how to lead it on the floor to build the charge and then hit the enemy that's about to smack you, understanding that it takes, what, 3 melee hits to down an enemy when you could do it with anything else. even though they've changed the rules slightly in this game. The snub takes 3 beatdowns to knock people on the ground. It wasn't like that in Gears 1. I know, because I used to get hate messages from using it on host, but I'm using this corner over here because it seems like the safest place to do what I was doing then. And now we have to defend the House of Sovereigns. There's going to be an emergence hole immediately in front of you, which you should be able to seal with the hammer. I don't know if I had any success in doing it. And then there's going to be two instances of wonderful boomers popping out of these holes, which once again, you're going to see just how nerfed the hammer is. Because in the old games, if you drop the hammer near them, they would just turn into chunks. But in this game, you have to direct impact a lot of them, which is not a problem. They're supposed to have less HP though, and this is one of those moments where it really doesn't feel like that's true. Like, you don't notice the boomers having any less HP at all. But I believe that that's how the game works. I just think it should be a little bit more in the favour of the player. Because what I really wanted from this, which I'm not going to get, and you're potentially going to get me lamenting, I wanted to be able to use the Nasher, because I love using the Nasher. The Nasher in the multiplayer is the best gun in the game. The Nasher in the campaign is the worst gun in the game. Combine these two things together, and it makes me a very sad panda. But the thing is, the enemy's Nasher is from the multiplayer. Your Nasher is from the campaign. So you're going to put the Nasher in a locust's ribs, you're going to shoot him, and he's going to live and punch you once and you're going to die. He's going to come to you from 5 yards with a Nasher, and he's going to one-shot you. He literally has host. Every enemy has host, and you're on a 2-bar. Like, it's bullshit. And all I wanted was an opportunity to be aggressive. And I'm going to be aggressive right now, but I don't recommend it, guys, because it's dangerous. But I'm going to grenade tag this guy who gets plot armor, and then I'm going to shotgun his buddy who's in the middle of an execution. This should spray his buddy, and it does. The reason it sprayed him, ladies and gentlemen, is because I got a lucky spread. And unfortunately, when I want to bring consistent strategies to the table for a walkthrough, inconsistent spread is not consistent, right? So, on the attempt before that, where I died, I did the same thing, and he lived, and then he punched me. I did the same thing to the other guy. I roadie ran to the guy on the right, shot him with a shotgun, he lived and punched me. And it's just, it's so frustrating, because I don't know if you're anything like me, but because I've played a lot of multiplayer, I trust the shotgun way more than I should. Because I know, in the capable hands of a good player, you can completely kill an entire enemy team on a hill. Like, I can go through 4 or 5 people effortlessly, if I play it right, and if they're not the best guys, right? But in the campaign, it just, you think, oh, there's one guy, I'll go and get him. No, you won't. Don't do it. Turn off your multiplayer brain, because it's going to hurt you. And you can get an active beforehand to edge your bets, but it's not worth it, guys. The best thing to do is what I'm doing right now. Keep distance, use assault rifles, use range, use your team, mark the enemies, and kind of just approach it as you did the original Gears of War 1, where you were very defensive, you used a lot of blind fire, things of that nature. But look at that, he was shooting me with a shotgun from that range, and he got me to like 1/3 dead. So just be very careful. This sequence here is not very challenging because you don't have to do anything. As long as you kill the locusts that are up here with you, you don't have to do anything. You can literally sit in cover and do nothing. You don't have to shoot the Brumax, you don't have to shoot this horde of enemies, you don't have to do any of it. You can just wait for the light mass bomb to go off. I'm going to do a little bit of shooting, but I'm not getting on that turret. I didn't get on the turret on Insane, and I ain't doing it on this one. So, I'm just going to kind of chill over here as Hoffman does his thing. But I hope this walkthrough is going to be a fun one for you guys. I enjoyed making it. I still think the Swarmax's the hardest part of the game because it's a dog shit fight, and I did not like it. And I made a mistake the same way I did on Insane by stacking checkpoints and giving myself a much harder time than I needed to. But I'm going to talk about that later on. The second hardest part of the game is a fight in Do Not Go Gentle, which I didn't even remember from Insane, but you get rushed and there's no cover and it's very challenging. And then the final one is the plane. The Vulture is a shit boss that they've made somehow even worse, and it's really luck based and silly, but you can do it very quickly. It's just luck based. I did it in 20 minutes. I did not enjoy any of it, but I've heard horror stories of people taking hours to do it, and it's literally because the game is just not very fun at that point, and there's nothing you can do to make it fun. but there are achievements for beating this difficulty on Inconceivable difficulty. There are achievements for doing it solo. So if you're a completionist, welcome to my walkthrough. I wish you the best of luck. You can do this, and if you can't, I will help you.